When my family moved into our new home, I thought it was the fresh start we needed. A quiet street, neat little houses, kids riding bikes in the evenings. It felt perfect. It didn't take long before I noticed him. Across the street, in the house with the faded curtains, there was always a man standing at the window. Every time I glanced outside, morning, afternoon, night, he was there, watching. At first, I told myself it was harmless. Maybe he was lonely, maybe just curious about new neighbors. But the longer I lived there, the more I realized he wasn't just looking. He was studying us. Every time we stepped outside to mow the lawn, bring in the groceries, or just sit on the porch, I could feel his eyes on us. I'd glance across the street, and there he was, framed perfectly in that window, motionless, staring. My mom laughed it off. "He's probably just an old man with nothing better to do," she said. But I wasn't so sure. One evening, as the sun was going down, I saw him again. Only this time, he wasn't in the window. He was standing at the edge of his yard, perfectly still, his face hidden in shadow. When he realized I was watching, he didn't wave. He didn't move, he just tilted his head, the way a dog does when it hears something strange. I ran back inside and pulled the curtains shut. The first night it happened, I thought it was just my imagination. I woke up around 2 a.m. and heard it, slow footsteps on our front porch. I held my breath, listening as the boards creaked under someone's weight. Then silence. The next morning, my dad found smudged fingerprints on the living room window. Too high for a child. Too fresh to have been there before. We tried to ignore it, but it kept happening. Some nights it was footsteps. Other nights it was the faint sound of our door handle rattling, as if someone was gently testing it. Once, when I opened the door in the morning, there was something left on the porch. A small brass key, old and scratched. None of our doors matched it. Across the street, through his faded curtains, the neighbor was at his window, watching. One evening, my dad had finally had enough. We were sitting in the living room when we heard it again. The sound of someone walking across our porch. This time he went outside. I followed him to the door, just in time to see our neighbor standing at the edge of our yard. Not across the street. Not at his window on our property. "Hey," my dad called out. "What the hell are you doing here?" The man didn't move. His arms hung loosely at his sides, his head tilted just enough to catch the porch light. "I'm just checking if you're safe," he said softly. His voice was calm, almost too calm. My dad clenched his fists. "Stay on your side. Don't ever step onto our yard again." The neighbor smiled faintly. "I just want to make sure you all sleep well." And with that he turned, walking slowly back across the street until he disappeared behind his curtain. That night, none of us slept well at all. It was a week later when my little sister ran into my room, crying. She swore she had woken up in the middle of the night and saw him, the neighbor, standing in her room near the window. My parents told her it was just a nightmare, but I knew better. We had installed a cheap security camera by the front door, just to calm everyone down. The next morning I checked the footage. At 3:14 a.m., the camera showed a blurry figure standing on the porch. The face was too distorted to make out, but the outline, it looked like him. And then, right before the clip ended, the figure leaned forward, closer, closer, until the lens caught one detail clear as day. A single, unblinking eye staring straight into the camera. That night, the doorknob rattled again. Only this time it didn't stop. It twisted, slowly. Someone was trying to come in. It was a week later when my little sister ran into my room, crying. She swore she had woken up in the middle of the night and saw him, the neighbor, standing in her room near the window. My parents told her it was just a nightmare, but I knew better. We had installed a cheap security camera by the front door, just to calm everyone down. The next morning I checked the footage. At 3:14 a.m., the camera showed a blurry figure standing on the porch. The face was too distorted to make out, but the outline, it looked like him. And then, right before the clip ended, the figure leaned forward, closer, closer, until the lens caught one detail clear as day. A single, unblinking eye staring straight into the camera. That night, the doorknob rattled again. Only this time it didn't stop. It twisted, slowly. Someone was trying to come in. The night everything changed. The power went out. The house plunged into silence and darkness, and for a moment I thought I saw a shadow move past the hallway. My dad grabbed a flashlight, and that's when we noticed a door in the kitchen floor, a hatch we had never seen before. The realtor hadn't mentioned a basement. We pried it open. The air that rushed out was damp and foul, like earth that hadn't been touched in years. We climbed down the narrow steps, and the beam of the flashlight swept across the room. That's when we froze. Pinned to the walls were photographs, dozens of them. Our family eating dinner, unloading the car, sleeping in our beds. Some of the pictures were taken before we even moved in. And in the center of the wall was the worst one of all. A photo of us asleep in our new house, taken from inside our bedrooms. We didn't wait until morning. My parents packed us into the car and drove through the night, leaving everything behind. As the headlights cut through the dark streets, I finally looked back. The neighbor's house stood quiet, curtains drawn. But just before we turned the corner, one of the upstairs windows flickered with light. A shadow moved behind the curtain. Watching, we stayed with relatives for a while. My parents called the police, but when they went to check, they said the house across the street had been abandoned for years. No utilities, no furniture, no sign of anyone living there. But I know what I saw. I know who was watching us. And sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I can still feel it, the weight of his stare, waiting for me to look back.